Alright, hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to try to do something a little different here. This is a lake I've never been to. I'm kind of just going to break down how I would go about breaking down this body of water if I was coming to fish a tournament here. And I've wanted to fish tournaments here. This is a High Rock Lake in North Carolina. I've never been to it, and I'm just going to kind of go through my process of how I'd break down a body of water I haven't been to and where I would start when I started looking at the map. Now, obviously, if I was focusing on, the spawn or the pre-spawn, I'm be focusing in these creeks. Summertime, I'm going to be looking for creek arms as well, but the main thing is, the first thing I'm going to do is pull up the map like this, and I'm just going to take a look at it, and the first thing that I see, obviously, see 1, 2, 3, 4 creek arms, and then I see the river. So how do I know where I kind of want to start and what creek arm I want to go to? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the creek arm that's got the most going on in it. And so let's zoom in here. Like, I look at this creek arm, it doesn't have a lot going on. This creek arm doesn't have a lot going on. The river's going to always have something, going on a little bit, but then when I come over here to this creek arm's got a lot going on. It's got channel swings, it's got underwater bluffs, it's got the creek bed that touches up against anything and everything. It's got points, it's got humps, another area where it touches up here. It's got docks. It's got, like I said, it's got points. Is this a hump? Yep, it's got a hump. Creek channel touches up right there. This is a good looking creek. And the reason I'm looking for a creek arm that's really got a lot going on, and by a lot going on, I mean structure with creek channel swings, bends, steep banks, shallow water, bunch of cover, is because you can almost take this creek arm and fish it like its own lake. So you could almost come here, like I do with most lakes, is I would come here and fish in here and start catching them in here. And if I can get on a pattern or something going on this stretch of the lake right here, I know that most likely I'm going to be able to take it throughout the rest of this lake here. So that's one way to help break down a body of water, is being able to just come and take an area or a section of the lake that is basically like its own lake and just break it down, and then take whatever you find from there and then try to go find similar things around the rest of the lake. And when I do notice here, though, is when I zoom in, I see this flooded timber here, flooded timber all over this lake. Now, I've never been here, so I don't know if this flooded timber is still standing down there, if they took all the timber, like Lake Hartwell, from 0 feet to 30 feet deep, they cut back all the timber all the way down to the ground. And then everything from 30 feet out, they just topped everything. So it's got tons of flooded timber. And I know with flooded timber lakes that the fish do behave differently. You get a lot more suspended fish. You get a lot more pelagic fish roaming around, chasing bait. And so that would definitely dictate what I would do once I pulled up to the lake and I got there and I saw that, oh, I see timber sticking up out of the water, or I see timber, I'm marking timber on my graph, 10 feet deep, there's standing timber all over the place. That would change the way I would approach this lake. But if we took the flooded timber out, I would still go with the fact that I'm going to take this section right here, because it's got a little bit of everything going on, and try to break down this body of water in here like its own lake. And then I'm going to take it out here to the rest of the main lake and start focusing on areas like this. I like, I'm always looking for something off the beaten path. When you come here, if you're coming for a tournament, this is going to be loaded with people. This is going to be loaded with people. All these creeks are going to be loaded with people. I like to, honestly, I'm a main river guy or a main lake guy. I like to fish the main bodies of water just because I feel like there's a bigger quantity of the average size fish on the main lake, and the population at bigger fish on the main lake is a lot better than most creeks. Now, I'm not saying there's not a ton of big bass in a creek arm like this. I'm just saying I know most of the time on the main lake, when I'm going to set the hook, I have the better chance at a higher percentage of hooking a better quality fish than I would typically in a creek, depending upon the time of the year. But again, honestly, like breaking down this section of water, coming here and taking this like it's its own lake. Now, obviously, if I was coming here in pre-spawn, like I said, I would come back into areas like this. And this is in the pre-spawn. I like looking for things like this. This slow taper, a slow taper. See these contour lines, how they're so spread apart, basically 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. And I just think in these areas in the springtime and then again in the fall, these fish will pull back in here a lot sooner than some of those other areas just because it's typically shallower and that slow transition. These bass are going to be able to push bait back in here like in the fall. I notice that I get a lot more shad back in areas and a lot more bait back in areas like this and than I do in some other areas. This is usually the first areas I'm going to look. And I mean, you'll get bait pushed back in here as areas like this as well, but I've definitely noticed having that slower taper. That's what I like to look for, especially in the fall or in the springtime. But like I said, basically if you can take a body of water, find a creek arm or an area that you can focus on that basically has everything else the rest of the lake has, and you break down that creek arm and basically, like I said, take this like it's its separate body of water, break it down, and then run that throughout the rest of the lake. It'll just help you break down a body of water that much quicker and really help you key on what to focus on instead of coming out here and just being like, well, let me run here and fish this, or oh, I'm not getting bit over here, let me run over here and fish that. No, I'm going to sit in here for a while until I figure out what I'm catching or what's going on in an area like this. Then I will go to my map and be like, okay, well, this kind of looks something similar over here, or this looks something similar over here. Like these two creeks are kind of similar. This one is obviously a lot wider, a lot bigger, a lot more water than this one, but this one's got a lot going on. It's got points and humps, contour lines, bunch of structure, creek channels swimming around or swinging around in here. And so that's what I'm going to do when I go to break down a lake. Like I said, find a big creek arm, treat it like it's its own lake, figure that area out, and then expand it to the rest of the lake. I mean, you could even take this up the river, and you can never count out the river. So that's just my thought. That's kind of how I go about breaking down a body of water. I look for something that I can just apply to the rest of the lake and break it all down. So hope you guys like this video, and if you've been to this lake before, leave some comments below. Let me know about that stand-in timber because I'm really interested in that. I want to kind of get an idea of what it's like out there, whether there is standing timber still or if it's kind of basically all gone. So again, guys, hope you liked the video, and I'll see you guys next time.